Okay, let's be real for a second. Nothing, and I mean nothing, ruins your day quite like that little check engine light popping up on the dash. It's just instant stress, right? But hey, if your scanner is spitting out the code P0016 for your Toyota, take a deep breath. We're about to walk through exactly what that code means, how you can figure out what's wrong, and what it's going to take to get it fixed.
So here's our game plan. First, we're going to translate what P0016 is actually saying. Then, we'll talk about how serious this really is, what are the symptoms. After that, we'll play detective and look at the usual suspects causing the problem. I'll give you a step-by-step roadmap for diagnosing it, and then, finally, we'll cover how to actually make the fix. Sound good? Let's jump in. All right, first things first. We have to understand the code itself. Before you even think about grabbing a wrench or calling a mechanic, you got to know what your car is trying to tell you with this very specific and kind of technical message.
Yeah, so that light on your dash, that's just the messenger. P0016, that's the actual message. And it's not just some random glitch. It's a very specific signal from your engine's computer, and it's pointing to a problem with one of the most fundamental things in your engine. It's timing.
Okay, so here's the official wordy definition. It sounds super complicated, but I promise the idea behind it is pretty simple. Your engine has these two main rotating shafts, the crankshaft at the bottom, which is connected to the pistons, and the camshaft up top, which opens and closes the valves. They have to spin in perfect, synchronized harmony. This code, P0016, just means your car's brain, the ECM, has noticed they're not in sync anymore. And that Bank 1 sensor A part, don't sweat it. Bank 1 is just the side of the engine that has cylinder number 1, and sensor A is usually the intake camshaft sensor. Here's a great way to think about it. Imagine the crankshaft and camshaft are a pair of lead dancers in a ballet. When they're perfectly in sync, the whole show, your engine running smoothly, is just beautiful. But P0016 is the stage manager yelling that one of the dancers missed a cue. Now the whole performance is off, and the engine is running rough and inefficiently. Okay, let's get to the question that's probably been bouncing around in your head. Just how bad is this? In this section, we're going to cover the symptoms you're probably feeling, and, more importantly, what's at stake if you just ignore it. So if you've got this code, does any of this sound familiar? Obviously, you've got the check engine light, but you might also feel your car shaking or running really rough when you're stopped at a light. Maybe it feels sluggish when you try to accelerate, or it even stalls out. Hear any weird rattling noises coming from the engine? That could be a big clue. And you're definitely going to notice you're visiting the gas station a lot more often. And I gotta be straight with you on this one. You really, really should not ignore this code. This isn't one of those, I'll get to it later problems. Why? Because many modern Toyota engines are what we call interference engines. And what that means is if the timing gets way off, the pistons can actually slam into the valves. We're talking catastrophic, wallet-destroying engine damage. Okay, now that we understand just how serious this is, it's time to put on our detective hats. We need to figure out why this is happening. And this section is all about the usual suspects, the most common things that trigger a P0016 code. It could be something pretty simple or something a bit more involved. So here's the list. The cause could be anything from a physically stretched out timing chain to something as basic as low or dirty engine oil. And that's actually a huge one. Your Toyota has a system called variable valve timing, or VVT, that uses oil pressure to make tiny adjustments. If your oil is low or full of gunk, it can clog up the system, it can't do its job, and boom, timing is off. Of course, it could also be a bad sensor that's sending junk data to the computer, or even just some frayed wiring. All right, so you've got this whole list of potential culprits. Where in the world do you even start? You need a plan, a roadmap. You don't want to just start replacing expensive parts randomly, right? This next part is all about a logical, step-by-step way to investigate, starting with the easy and cheap stuff first. I want you to think of this like a funnel. You always start at the widest, easiest part. And step one, I cannot say this enough, is to check your oil. Pop the hood. Is the dipstick showing the right level? Does the oil look clean or like black sludge? Seriously, sometimes a simple oil change is all it takes. If that's all good, then move to step two. Just look at the wiring going to the sensors. See anything chewed up or corroded? After that, things get a little more complex, like actually testing the sensors or diving into the engine to check the timing chain itself. That's usually when you call in a pro. So, let's say you've done your detective work and you found the culprit. What's next?
time to fix it. In our final section here, we're going to look at what the actual repairs look like, from stuff you can probably do yourself to the jobs that are best left to a professional. This pretty much lays it all out. On the left side, you've got the simpler fixes. If the problem was just old oil, while an oil and filter change is a classic weekend DIY job. Even replacing a sensor or that VVT solenoid is often doable for a home mechanic with the right tools. But the stuff on the right, that's a whole different ballgame. Replacing a timing chain is a huge, labor-intensive job. You need special tools, a ton of knowledge, and a lot of patience. That's firmly in the call a pro category for most people. All right, let's wrap this up with the most important things to remember. 1. P0116 means your engine's timing is off. It's a big deal. 2. You need to deal with this fast to avoid potentially catastrophic and very expensive damage. 3. Always, always, always start your diagnosis with the simple stuff. Check that oil. And 4, be honest with yourself about your mechanical skills. A lot of these fixes are not for beginners. So there you have it. We've decoded the message, looked at the risks, identified the suspects, and mapped out a plan for diagnosis and repair. You are now armed with a clear roadmap to take control of this problem. So the only question left is, what's your first step going to be?